Hi everyone, Grant K here for the Smoke Learning channel. In the previous video, we looked at the different types of animation that you could apply to a Gmask. This included object animation as well as point vertex animation. In this video, we'll examine Gmask motion blur, which includes controlling what has motion blur applied and what does not. If you would like to follow along, please click the link in the YouTube description to download the Gmask setup. Or if you're watching the podcast version of this video, then type the link displayed in your internet browser. I am sticking to a simple example to highlight the features, but these tools and workflows can easily be applied to real-world work. So here I have some shapes that I've loaded into the Gmask node using the downloadable setup. If I scrub the time bar, you will see that a circular shape has object animation, but the 4-point shape contains object and vertex animation. Select the Gmask node in the ConnectFX schematic and press Escape. So focusing on the 4-point shape, the axis node contains the vertical movement applied to this shape. The geometry node contains the vertex movement, which is the 2 right points extending to the other side of the frame. Now scrub to the middle of the time bar. To enable motion blur for the Gmask, go to the Node Preferences menu. Here you will find the motion blur options. A big important point to remember is that the motion blur options, including the on and off switch, is keyframeable. So if you don't want the motion blur to be keyframed, ensure that auto key is off. When motion blur is applied, it applies a global motion blur to all the Gmasks within the specific Gmask node. Any other Gmask nodes in ConnectFX will not be affected. Now return back to the main Gmask menu. So every mask and animation will have motion blur applied to it. However, you can be very specific as to what will have motion blur. Take our 4-point Gmask for example. There is motion blur on the vertical movement for the object, and there is horizontal motion blur for the vertices of the shape. If you only wanted motion blur on the vertex animation and not the object animation, select the axis node in the Gmask schematic. In the transformation controls, you will see a button aptly named M-Blur. Disabling this button will turn off motion blur for the selected axis node. Scrubbing the time bar, you can see that the motion blur applied to the vertices animation, but nothing to the vertical object movement. The same can be applied the other way around. Enable the motion axis blur and disable the vertices motion blur. Scrubbing the time bar, you get a completely different motion blur result just by toggling these buttons. I'm sure that you've also noticed that the circular shape has not been affected by any of the changes I did to the 4-point shape. This just highlights the fact that you can control Gmask motion blur down to specific masks in the node. So whether you are compositing or creating motion graphics, I'm sure these controls will be of use to you. In the next upcoming video, I'll briefly cover Gmask tracking. Comments, feedback and suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Smoke Learning channel for future videos.